First of all, thank you for everyone for joining for this training for judging the student presentations at the upcoming International Clay Conference. I think we sent out initially the email to all our conveners, who were about 180, and there was a good response from the conveners, but we will actually ask everyone who's at the conference to take part in the judging if they wish to. What we have to help you is a student judging form, and we will put a QR code. It's in the program. It'll be displayed around the conference, so it should be very easy for you to access this form in order to kind of make an evaluation of a student presentation, be that oral or poster. We're really pleased actually with the number of students that we have at the conference. I think it's around about a quarter of our presentations will be by students. I think there's 115 student presentations in total, 79 oral and 36 posters out of the program at last count. To try and make this easy as well, what we've done is we decided early on that we would unify the student awards amongst the different bodies that are present at the conference. So obviously it's an IAPER conference, but the kind of the society running it is the Mineralogical Society and the Clay Minerals Group, and we have the Clay Minerals Society joining us as well from the US. All of these organizations normally make student awards, but we're going to unify it completely, and we're just going to have a set of conference student awards. I think at last point we were planning possibly 10 of these for what we consider to be the sort of best student presentations at the end of it. It's quite difficult, I think. We thought actually, everybody has a little bit of a different idea about what the quality, how do you judge the quality of a presentation and a poster? I think we probably all have a good idea, what that entails. And we've tried to capture it in the questions that we have on our form. So the form, as I mentioned, is very easy to access. There's a QR code. You could scan it on your phone, or you could follow the link in your computer. It'll take you to this form. And if Kevin, if you could just scroll up a little bit now, this is the form that you will see. It's a Google form. We don't think you need a Google. Sorry, Kevin?
That's the top of the screen that I've got, Steve. So.
Yeah. So if you could scroll up slightly, just down to the first question there. The first question is just the name of the assessor, so that would be you. We've controlled the entry of text a little bit there. You can't put in numbers or anything like that. It's just, I think, letters and spaces, just to make sure we can figure out who's done the assessment quite easily. And then below that, you have a selection box. Originally, we had this where you could type in the name of the students, but then we thought, well, we actually know, or we think we know who all the students are. Hopefully we know who all the students are at the conference. So when you drop down in that box, you will actually find the name of the student, followed by whether or not it's an oral and a poster, plus the first bit of the text of the title of that presentation. So it should make it very easy for you to identify a presentation. So if Kevin was just to choose one of those randomly at the moment now, that's that part done. You scroll down a little bit further. It still asks you if it's an oral or a poster presentation. That question is there still because that actually just helps us in how the information is input into the form. So please tick that as well. It also asks you what session the presentation was in. And again, there's a drop-down list of sessions. They're numbered. We've still kept the numbers that came through when the original sessions were proposed by conveners. So that should help you find them. And the ones which were combined when we had some merging of sessions and all, you'll find at the bottom there. Yeah. So you should be able to enter for your student presentation very, very quickly, the one you're assessing, who the student is, oral or poster, and what session it was in. Then below that, we have the questions. There's a little bit of guidance on how we think.
Steve, can I jump in for a sec?
Yeah.
You didn't mention this entry here.
Oh yes, yeah. That's correct. Yeah, it's quite small on my screen actually, so I didn't quite see it there as you scroll past it. In the event that we have missed some students out of the program for some reason, we haven't realized they're a student or so on, we thought we might have some students who come to us and say, oh, I'm a student, I'd like to be eligible for the for the prizes, the student awards. So you can enter the name of a student who might not appear in that list for some reason. So if you're at a student presentation and you think it's not in the list, you can answer it in just enter it there and make sure that student then is included in the judging. So if we move a little bit further down, there's a little bit of guidance on how the scoring will work for the questions. We have a scoring from 1 to 10, and there's a little bit of indication there about what scores in those ranges might indicate. Obviously, 10 being the outstanding and 1 being low for some reason. The questions that follow then, the first one of them is on scientific content. The second one is on the quality of the presentation, if you like. Obviously, these things will vary a little bit. The quality of a poster compared to the quality of a presentation, you judge them in slightly different ways. But we're hoping that with a range of 1 to 10, we'll get as much uniformity as we can across how people do this. The third question then is about the novelty, and the final question. There's only 4 questions. And engagement. You can see percentages next to these questions if just along the top there. And what we're going to do is we're going to weight the scores that we get back in for the different students. And we're hoping also that by having as many of you as possible engage in this kind of student judging panel, as I said, we will open it up to everyone at the conference. The more you do, the better, because we will take averages across all our students when we actually try to figure out, which ones are coming at the top of the pile, which ones have given fantastic presentations in all aspects and so on. So all of those things are covered there. As I mentioned, it's really important. If you can do, the more of these you can do, the easier it will be as well for us to kind of have uniformity of judging, if you like, across the thing, because maybe somebody has a slightly different view of what constitutes a really fantastic presentation and so on. And of course, they're all on different science and different things as well. So it is very difficult to kind of uniform these things. But we're hoping by volume of numbers, if you like, at the end of the day, it'll be clear which students are really kind of sitting towards the top of the pile and deserving of a conference award. The last box on the question as well is a little bit of feedback. This is optional, but I think it is very helpful if you see some aspect of the presentation or the poster and you think that needs a comment, that was really good, or something of that nature, or some other comment that could be really helpful in tie breaks and so on. And so you can see, hopefully this will be a fairly quick process. Once you've engaged with the student, either at the poster, spoken to them, talked about the poster and so on, you can probably fill this form in a minute or less on your phone or your iPad or something, or your laptop after that. And the same for when you see an oral presentation at the conference. You've just watched the presentation, open up the form, fill it in while things are fresh in your memory, and hopefully that will mean that we generate a lot of information about our students, who's giving the best presentations. So I think that was everything I wanted to say. As I say, all of you are members of the judging panel. We hope everyone will join the judging panel, everyone who's at the conference, and put in some evaluations. And we have, I think, I saw Sabine on the call, Helen on the call, and Pete on the call, who are going to kind of oversee the whole process. Look at the results that we have in the form at the end on the Friday, and then we'll make the awards at the awards ceremony on the Friday afternoon. And anything I've missed, Kevin or Helen? Or
the only thing I would add, Steve, for everybody is to say, when we're in lecture theatres for oral presentations, I think it's more likely that the oral student presentations will be obvious. That might be less likely for posters. So we're going to ask you to focus particularly on the program, identify the student posters, and make sure you go and pay a visit to those ones and assess them. Because I think experience shows that the oral presentations get more votes in general than the poster ones do. So we'd like to balance that up if we can.
Sure. Yeah. And it's all indicated in the program, actually. If you have a look at the program that you'll receive, and you can find it online as well. You'll see we've indicated, when it's a student presentation, and as I say, hopefully we've caught all of those. 115 at last count.
Sorry, I'm late. Couple questions.
Sure.
I got scientific content, novelty, and quality delivery. What was number one?
Content, scientific content was the first one.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
The other thing is I am unlikely to have a computer with me. So can we do these by hand and submit them? Because I will not be bringing a computer.
No, it's an online form, so you have to do it through a phone, an iPad, or a computer, unfortunately.
I won't be available electronically, I don't think. And
Okay.
if I am, it's going to only be at night in the room with Wi-Fi.
Right.
There will be Wi-Fi in the conference center, Jean.
Oh, okay. There's availability in the conference center. Okay.
Yeah.
Can we have some forms, like forms we can fill in, and then we can put them online after? Copies of forms?
We've been trying to avoid that because the evaluation of the thing, we also have a piece of software we're going to be using to sort of evaluate the whole thing. So we're trying as far as possible to avoid having to input things manually. We can have a think about that, but I think we'll probably...
I will have to do things manually and then put them in later. I just will not have anything with me to be useful coming from North America. It's just too much trouble to bring computers. We're only bringing one computer.
You don't have a phone?
Well,
you don't have a phone?
Yeah, we put on Nomad, but I only have 3 gigabytes for like 30 days, so I don't have a lot of data.
Right.
Because of otherwise it's just too expensive. But
Jean,
if you have
could I make a suggestion to you?
Sure.
I'll send you the link to the form afterwards. Maybe try it on your phone and see how you get on. There will be free Wi-Fi in the conference center, and you will be able to complete the form without using any of your mobile data. So maybe just try that and see how you get on. See if it works for you. And because as Steve says, we're really, number one, we're trying to avoid paper forms. Number two, if we have student presentations right at the last minute before the awards ceremony, we want to have an opportunity to assess all of the entries, and we're doing that using an app that Steve and his colleagues have created. It won't be easy to incorporate paper entries into that.
I could try. Again, I don't know what my phone situation is going to be in terms of running it there.
All right. Okay. Let's try that. Let's try that.
Yeah. Try. Sorry, I had a flood in the lab this morning. Early to do this, and I'm dealing with a flood in an XRF lab.
Oh dear.
So it's too much humidity. And then I had another. So I could print off the form and have it with me, so I can do things in my notebook and then put it in later at that time.
Eventually. Yeah.
All right. And all the students are identified in the program.
Yes,
they are.
Poster and oral.
Yes.
Yes.
And do we need to tell you which sessions we're going to?
No, and I did actually see, I on that point, I did actually see another question pop into the chat, although I don't have the chat box open at the moment. So, but asking, do you have to judge every session and everything? We're just really looking for people to judge as many as they possibly can, as many as they're comfortable doing. Obviously, the more we get, the better. We're hoping that we have, coverage of all the sessions. We did ask all the conveners if they would engage in the judging. So hopefully there's at least one from each session. But really, it's just down to you which ones you want to judge. You probably judge the ones you feel most comfortable with the science of, and so on like that. But the more, the better. But doesn't have to be all 115. If everybody did, half a dozen or a dozen, we would have a lot of data.
Fernanda, you have a question. I don't know if you can see the hands there, Steve, so I'll call it. Please go ahead.
Yeah, if you call the questions, that would be useful.
Okay, hello. My question is I decide which session I go to evaluate, not all session, okay?
Yes.
Okay, because each people have different
Absolutely.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. This
Yeah.
is one. And in order to choose before or identify before PhD presentation, we receive a list of the name of the student.
They're in the program. Yes. You'll
In
find
the program.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'll find them in the program. Every time there's a talk by a student, it indicates that in the program, or a poster by a student is indicated in the program.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
George.
Yes, Kevin, I have two questions. The first is, well, we have a common questionnaire, but will there be different awards for oral and poster presentations? The first.
Yes.
And the second, yes,
Yeah.
go on, yes.
Yeah, so we have 10 prizes, George, and a rough calculation suggests that given the breakdown between oral and poster is that we will have 6 oral and 4 poster prizes.
Okay. And the second is, if I was a student to be evaluated, I wouldn't like to know that, okay, some of the presentations will be evaluated by 1 or 2 and some others by 5 or 6 or 10 evaluators. Is there a way to, let's say, to secure that at least the number of evaluators will be, okay, if not equal, but comparable at least?
Steve, do you want to have a go at that one?
Yeah, we don't have any way to do that in a foolproof way. We're just really relying on every talk and every poster to be evaluated at least once. We clearly like more than one evaluation for each one, but I think we don't have any way to control that. Some might be just be more evaluated than others, but we will. We will look at an average and so on, obviously, of the evaluations. We don't just take the top evaluation, we will average things out and so on. But we have no way of controlling that we would get exactly, 10 evaluations for each student or something like that. I think we did wonder about that earlier on, but I think how would we do it? How would we ensure that we ever got to that? It would be a huge amount of work probably for the organizers to run around and say, oh, we need 3 more for this and 1 for this and so on. So I don't think we can. We just have to, hope that this process works as best as it can by getting as many evaluations of all students as possible.
Okay, thank you.
And as I mentioned, if everybody at the conference did, if everybody at the conference say did 3 or 4, we'd have a huge number. So it's for this to work as well as it can, really, it just needs lots of people to engage with it, and we've tried to make it as simple as possible to help that.
Yeah, one of the main focuses, George, has been to try and secure session conveners, session chairs to come on board this panel, and that would at least ensure that every student that presents would get some votes from the session chairs. But as Steve said, it's going to be really difficult to ensure that we get more than that. Absolutely guarantee that, and that's why we're encouraging everybody. The URL and the QR code to link people to this form, which I just put it in the chat, that's going to be available in the first page of the program, so everybody gets to see that every single morning when they open it up as a reminder. We'll be putting it up on the overhead projector screens before the start of sessions to try and encourage people, just as a reminder. And again, for you who are session chairs, we'll try and do that as well. Ask you to say to people right at the outset, remember folks, we need you to put your comments in about the student presentations. As Steve said, a minute each. It's not a huge task. And it's enormously valuable to the future careers of the 10 students that we will award on the Friday afternoon. Sorry, I'm blathering on. Helen.
Oh, thank you. Could you jump back to the form, please, Kevin?
Very good.
Yeah, thank you. It was just to point out, I know,
I just took it off. Just give me a sec there.
It was just to highlight, Steve said, or you both said, if we have inadvertently missed a student or, so we don't know about someone in that drop-down list, there is the option. Yeah, there is the option to select not in this list, because that question does have to be answered. So it's not, and then type their name. That was the only slight difference right at the bottom. There is the option.
Yeah, this entry
Yeah.
here, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there's a right at the end of the list of names, as Helen says, there's a not in this list, and then you get to answer, you get to enter their name in the free text form box that comes next.
Steve, Kevin, just maybe a little bit different question. I know I've seen the program; it's online. Just to make sure I'm clear, I can see it every day online. Is there going to be a printed program or online only? And that just so I know which one to be looking for here.
Yeah. The online, there are both. You'll get a copy of the printed program. Online will be the program, and also the abstracts will just be online.
Okay.
But yeah, you can get both though. Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll have a list of any corrections that go with the program, because obviously that had to go to the printer some time back.
Sure.
So if there's any.
So I have just one question in terms of timeline. So can we just vote until end of the conference, or for each day we have to vote the same day?
You can vote at any time during the conference.
Okay.
It's obviously on the last day we come up against this kind of hard deadline that we're almost at the award ceremony. So the students that are presenting on the last day, their evaluations need to be put in, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
I think as well, I forgot to point out, Tom, as well, that ICDD will also make a separate award, a student award, and that's completely separate from this process here. So
that'll be primarily Anya and myself.
Yes.
Looking at people with phase identification. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, because probably lots of people on the call wouldn't be aware of that as well, but the kind of normal student judging presentation that goes along with the conference, that's all been kind of assembled together here, if you like.
Yeah. Just for everyone's information, ICDD is going to give a free access for the PDF 5+ database for a year to the student that shows the best phase identification of materials.
Is there another question there in the chat, Kevin, or?
Bear with me. I'll have a look.
Sorry, it's just kind of.
So Marco says, is the final version of the program available already? Yes, it's available on the website, Marco.
Yes.
If you found it there. Okay, gotcha.
I found it.
Yeah, sorry, I'm catching up. Helen's way ahead of me. Yeah, Mohammed, I think your question's been answered as well about, so in the program that you will get when you register on Sunday, there's the program is listed there, and above it in green will be the word student. If it's a student presentation, it's very clearly identified. So there'll be no difficulty identifying the student presentations. Okay. And Helen has said that as well. Okay, thanks, Helen.
And one last question for me. The student presenter, if they have to be first author as well on the poster or the talk, because you could have, a first author that's the lead researcher, and then the student gives a talk because he can't come. So what happens then?
Yeah, so for those abstracts where the presenter is identified as a student, that's what we're looking at, because we have no way of telling if most of the work is done by the student or by their supervisor.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the clarification.
Any questions then? As I mentioned, the summary is hopefully this is a simple process, and you'll all find it very easy to engage with it, and that'll be really helpful to us and to the student judging committee, consisting of Pete, Sabine, and Helen. We'll be kind of overseeing this process and keeping an eye on it as it kind of, goes along at the conference. They'll be able to see what's coming into the form, and so on and so forth. And for example, for posters, if we realize, it looks like a few have been missed there, we can deal with that. We can't do that for the oral talk, so we really are relying on, conveners to tell their audience each time, please vote for the students after this session is done. take you a couple of minutes, and it's really helpful. Anything else from anyone? Kevin, Helen? As if not, I think all that remains really is to thank you all very much for the talk and also engaging in this process, and please encourage your colleagues as well, everyone else. And as Kevin mentioned, we'll put this online as well, so that those who weren't able to sort of watch the training and see what we're after can watch it online and catch up in that way.